title right, you can now post messages to an iFrame, finally. Not only that, starting with this release, your apps are going to be 80% faster. You can now create rows from within the table widget, and we have 2 new utility functions to make managing the local store easy. We have the removeValue function and the clearStore function, which do exactly what their name says, so no surprise there. This is definitely an awesome release, so let's take a closer look. My name is Confidence, and I'm a developer advocate at AppSmith. Without any delay, let's get started. We now have a feature that makes it possible for you to create new rows from within the table widget. And this is a feature I personally have been waiting for since we released the table inline editing feature. So it's here now, and let me show you how this works. So right here, this is a regular table widget, and something you notice is that we have a new button that says add new row. And this can be enabled by going into the properties of the table widget, scrolling down to where you see add a new row, and you can turn this on or turn it off. And for this particular example, I have the default value set to generate a random number between 10 and 0. And you can go on to set up actions for the onsave event and the ondiscard event. And of course, if you want users to be able to edit stuff, you have to set up editing permissions as well. So if I go to add a new row, you can see that we have a task with a random ID created. I can discard this, or I can choose to save this. Now I have an actual table that is set up properly, so I'm just going to show you how this would work in a real app. This is a second table widget which is reading its value from the store, as you can see right here, and I have editing set up for it. So for my edit permissions, I want the task and status to be editable, but the steps would not be editable because it's kind of like an ID right here. So scrolling down to show you how I have this set up, this is the allow adding a new row. It's turned on. For my default value, this is where I go to generate this step automatically, and whenever this is saved, I call a function called save to do that adds it to the store, and I can read the value of the user's input from the table name.newRow property. So let's go take this for a spin. I can go to create a new row, for example, let's say walk the dog, and let's give this a status of done. All right, I can go ahead to save this, and you can see that this has been automatically added with the ID created, and this is just awesome. So with this feature, you really don't need to use an extra form while working on the table widget. The whole evolution started by having to manually create your own form with individual inputs. Then we had the JSON form widget come around, which actually automated a lot of that processes. And then the table inline editing feature was launched, which reduced the dependency on forms. And now with this new feature to create rows from within the table widget, you really don't need to use a form widget while working with the table widget. The table widget killed the forms, and they are officially dead now. We've made the app editor, that's the editor you see here, and the view mode, that's the deployed version of your applications, a lot more performant. Now, this is not something I'll be able to show you in a video, but it's something you'll notice the next time you go use an AppSmith app or you go build on AppSmith. Things are a lot snappier and the experience is butter smooth all around. But I do have some metrics to show you, so let's take a look at them. So I'm just going to scroll down here, and here you can see a before and after of the edit mode, which is the editor we are in right now. So before, things took about 5 seconds to perform the page load and GS evaluations. Now, after this performance overhaul, things take about 2 seconds, and that's an 86% improvement, which is awesome. Now, for your viewers who will be using your app in the view mode, previously things took about 5 seconds to load the page, do all of the GS evaluations, and now things take about 2.6 seconds, which is a 78% improvement. So things are so much better, and I'm happy to see these changes. What this means is that these improvements would translate to a better app experience whenever you come build on AppSmith, and a better usage experience for your users whenever they come to use your apps. So this is a win-win if you ask me. We've enabled 2 new utility functions to make managing the local store much easier. They are the removeValue function and the clearStore function, and they provide a much cleaner API. So let's take a look at why you would want to use them compared to the old way and how to actually use them. I have a bunch of JavaScript files I have prepared here, so let's open up the remove1item file. So let's say, for example, you have a bunch of items in the store. I'm just going to populate the local store with a bunch of items, and you can see what we have in the store right here. We have a field called name, we have an array of friends, and we have a bunch of tags as well. So imagine you need to delete the name from the store. The way you had to previously do it was to use the store value function, which is very confusing because remember, you want to remove an item from the store and you have to give it a key of the property you want deleted and set its value to undefined. This works. I can go run this and reprint the store, and you can see that that has been deleted. But it's very confusing, and in fact, it does not really express the intent of your code. But right now, we have the new removeValue function, to which you just have to pass in the key of the item you want removed. So I can go run this and let's print the store, and you can see that has been removed. So this means that the API is much simpler to understand. Your code is going to be so much easier to read because things do exactly what they say they do. Now, moving on to the second operation you would want to perform on the store, that is deleting all items in the store. This used to be a mess previously, to be honest. Previously, you had to create a copy of the entire store, which is very bad for performance. Then you have to look through the keys of the copy you've created and manually set each item to undefined, basically doing a for loop over the last step we showed you for the remove1item, which is very inefficient. It works, but there's a better way. Now you have the clearStore function, which is so much cleaner. So let's go reinitialize the state of the store. We have all of this data in the store, and if I go run the new clearStore function and try to print the store, you can see that the store is empty right now. So this is a much cleaner approach. The 2 functions we've taken a look at, they are much cleaner, and I think I really like them. AppSmith is a low-code platform, not a write-your-own compiler platform. So these changes are welcome and they are really nice. Now, this is by far the most requested feature we shipped in the last release. After waiting for like forever, it's finally here. Theoretically, this is how it works. So to use two-way communication in the iFrame widget, you can either have AppSmith embedded, that is the AppSmith app, which is this box right here, embedded within your own website, a parent app. This could be your product website, it could be a blog, whatever it is. You can have AppSmith embedded in your website, or you could flip it around and have an app embedded within AppSmith. So this is the AppSmith window. You could have another iFrame embedded within it. So with this new feature of two-way iFrame communication, what this means is that from the AppSmith window, you can post a message to the embedded iFrame. That iFrame is going to be able to listen for message events using the window.addEvent listener message, and would be able to respond to those events by using the window.parent.postMessage API. So through that, it's going to be able to talk to AppSmith. AppSmith is going to be able to capture those events and give it back to you in JavaScript so that you can handle those events and do whatever you really want. And the same also works if you have AppSmith embedded in a parent website, for example. So you would be able to talk to the AppSmith window. That AppSmith window will be able to respond to those events and send messages up to your parent website. This diagram may be a bit confusing at first, but I have it linked in the release notes below in the description, so you can go check it out if you need to take a detailed look at this image. This is a really powerful feature because it enables two new possibilities. In cases where you have AppSmith embedded in your personal website, maybe a product website or a blog page, this means that you now have full duplex two-way communication with the AppSmith iFrame. And it's amazing because there's so much you can do with that kind of power. The second possibility is that this is going to make it possible for you to create your own custom widgets inside of an iFrame in AppSmith. And I actually have this set up, so let me show you how that would work. So right here, I have a real native input widget, and just above it, I have a custom input widget that has been created with an iframe. As you can see, this is an iframe. You can see the entire code for it. This is the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript for the iframe, and some other JS for handling the post message and the on message event. And this actually works because from this custom widget inside of an iframe, I can send messages to AppSmith. So I can say, how are you doing? And you can see that we have that message showing up right here inside of AppSmith. And from AppSmith, I can also talk to the custom widget, which is in the iframe. I can say, I'm doing good. And you can see that that also shows up here. So this is really wonderful because it unlocks the capability of creating custom widgets. And I really love the new iframe widget because you can have it styled such that your end users wouldn't know that this is in an iframe widget. So I have this transparent background. You can have this all set up by styling it. And if your users go use this app, for which they'll be using it in a view mode, for example, they would not be able to tell that this is an iframe widget, a custom widget in an iframe, and that this is a real widget. You can have it exactly styled as a native AppSmith widget, and your users would not be able to tell the difference. So this is a really lovely change to see, because you can go create custom widgets like a custom calendar widget or an image annotation tool if you use AppSmith for ML use cases or whatever you want really. So I really love this new feature of two-way iframe communication, and it is going to unlock a lot of potentials. Well, that's not all. We have a bunch of other updates to share with you. For our business users, audit logs now capture a lot more events. For example, application layout and theme changes are now being logged. Whenever an admin setting change is made, it now shows up under the instance change event. And when users are invited, this now shows up in the workspace details event. We now also have comma delimiter support for input widgets, especially the number input widget. So this is a lovely change because it's going to make it possible for you to easily read currency input whenever using the input widget. And lastly, we have more input widget support that has been added. That is for the onFocus event and for the onBlur event. In fact, this was actually contributed by a contributor during the month of October for Oktoberfest, that's Anchor. We have these code changes made, which is lovely to see, and we'll be having it show up in the UI in the next few releases. I really love seeing this kind of code changes from the community. So guys, if there's any change you want to see in the code base, please go ahead to make such contributions. Alright, that's all for tonight, guys. We could only cover a few updates in today's episode of Release Jam. So what I'm going to do is leave a link in the description below so that you can go check it out for yourself and see all of the fixes and features that were shipped in the last few releases. That's all. Au revoir, à la prochaine. Bye.